Okay, I am going to replace my thermostat because this part right here again is warping. I don't know if you can see that, warping from the heat. Yeah, there it is. This is the second one. So I'm going to replace this with this Techstar one. They say their stuff is all over the place. It says made in America, but it's actually made in Brazil. So this comes with some swag. Comes with a thermostat, which I'm not going to use. I'm going to use the original one from the Bostig kit. This thermostat's relatively cheap, seems well made. Comes with a couple of ports. This one and this one right there. Comes with some bolts. These are hex bolts instead of the those little crappy star bolts. And here's the plugs that it comes with. This is the cheaper version. There's two versions, one that comes with plugs and one that comes with temperature sensors, I think, but I'm not using those. It comes with a little Teflon tape for the plugs. And now the weird thing is that these sizes are, this is a 5/16, this is a 3/16. For the 5/16 and 8 will work in a pinch, but then for the bolts, you got a 5 and a 6 metric. So I'm going to install this, and the plan. So the plan is to clamp this guy. Well, first of all, I'm going to take this off so we don't make a siphon. I'm going to clamp this. I'm going to clamp this guy over here, and then I'm going to put a bucket down here, unscrew this guy, and drain the engine that way, and that should drain the engine, and then all the water in here and forward will stay in place. And normally this hose just goes straight to here, but I got this filter here, and there I have another video on that. It works okay. My fluid, which is empty right now, is really clean looking. I've changed the filter once, and this thing gets really hot. So it does I think it actually runs a little bit cooler. I think it probably runs 5 degrees cooler, because it's another place for radiation, as this will be since it's all metal. But of course that means a lot more heat right here, potentially being radiated. I mean, it probably doesn't make a big difference since I don't know. I mean, it is something different though. Hopefully it won't melt like this guy or anything like that. I mean, it's not getting remotely as hot as the exhaust manifold. But let's see how it goes. To be clear, what I was saying before, there's the plugs, there's the Teflon tape, and that's it. I don't know the torque specs. I torqued them in fairly hard, but sure don't want to strip them because I'm sure that they're aluminum. I've extolled the virtues of these hose clamps or hose pliers, whatever you want to call them, in the past. They're awesome. You usually, I mean, it's just a good idea to get a couple bigs and a couple smalls. I already got one clamped off over there. And these are just called hose removal pliers. And I'm not going to have to use them, but they're great for old stuff, going in there, kind of working your way around, especially in a tight spot, like up by the radiator. Oh my gosh, these things will save your life. It's still, it feels weird using something this sharp around your hoses, but man, sometimes you just got to brutalize those hoses to get them off of there. And yeah, and always try spinning them like this instead of just pulling back. Try torquing them around this way. And here we go. I'm going to drain that thing. And that's always kind of messy. I hate that. But we're going to do our best. Alright. This guy's empty. It's not my best work, but I did get 90% of it. Still got some on the ground. Just kind of turn this guy up. Loosened all the screws. Let's go right here. that guy back here, right there for the lower one, for this right there, this one, and this hose over there, which you can't really see. And I'm just going to start taking those hoses off, and the engine should be empty. Thermostat hopefully will be empty. This one will take off slowly, but I'm just going to kind of hold it up like that in case there is any juice in there, and just kind of set it aside. I mean, try to prop it up. So if there is any juice in there. And just to be clear how this thing works quickly. So the engine, the water pump obviously is just on the other side of this right here. It takes water in from here, forces it through the engine. When the thermostat is closed, it goes to this guy, the lower one, and then it just comes right back to here. And it's a closed loop right there. At the same time, this guy up to your rear heater, that one is always open. I guess it goes to front heater, but my front heater doesn't work very well, so I think of it as a rear heater. That one's always open. Thermostat is right here behind this cover, so when that opens up, it actually closes off. It does two things. It doesn't just open that up, it actually closes off this pathway and opens up this pathway, and then it just goes up to the front, goes up to radiator, comes back here. And wrong about that. This is the heater one. Oh, this is the return from the heater. Oops, sorry. Yeah, this is the return from the heater. That's the send to the heater, and this is the return. Goes back in here. So while I was under, I just noticed my throttle cable. That's not good. I guess that's from rubbing on this bolt right here. So what I like to do is, you can see I already did it here for the heat shield. I'm going to get some fuel line and just wrap it and do a bunch of zip ties. But that sucks. Okay, so that worked out real well. This big guy did not have any fluid. This guy did not have any fluid. This guy did. I see it. There's a little in there. So I just propped him up like that. And this top guy, of course, was empty. This one is really hard. It's always really hard to get off of there. So I just unscrewed it, and I lost a few drops. But I'm going to pull it out of there and then be able to get to it a little easier. And heck, I did actually use my freaking hose needles. That's what I call them. Yeah. So here's how this fits on there, just like that. And you can see how bad that thing is melted. It is just basically a time bomb. And I was wrong. So it sits like this. And that lower one, the bypass one, which goes through here and into there, that is always open. So even when the thermostat is open and letting water go here to the radiator, that lower one is still open. I don't love that. That's not as robust a design. The original, I think 1.9 and 2.1 Vanagon boxers, they both actually, when the thermostat moves, it opens one valve and closes another with the little foot. So that's interesting. Another thing I read recently is that obviously we know coolant is pretty toxic stuff. For an adult, an emergency would be considered a mouthful swallowed, and for a child or an animal, more like a lick or a taste would be considered potential emergency, call poison control, all that good stuff. So point is, if you get a little bit in your mouth, just spit, rinse your mouth. If you're an adult, you'll probably be fine. It's happened to me. Also, it does not absorb through your skin, so even if you're bathing in it, which it's not fun because it is kind of oily, it's not gonna hurt you because it does not absorb through the skin. Alright, I got that thermostat switched over. Be a good time to clean that guy up a little bit. And I'm not really worried about torque specs. The torque specs on the original one, of course, are really light because it's plastic. This one I'm just going to use the force. Still a good idea to tighten these 3 bolts down in stages, like lug nuts. And I think these are actually extra because they're the same exact size as these black ones, and I don't know where they would go. Another little nugget, I get a little coolant on my finger. When you're installing something with a gasket like this, I'm just going to rub a little bit of coolant on there just so it'll seat a little better. It's just like when you're installing a new filter for motor oil filter. Always want to put a thin layer of oil on there. Of course, spin-on filters are spinning, so that's really kind of important. This one is just going to be compressed. Probably not as important, but definitely not a bad idea. If you need to change a coolant, it'd be a good time to do that. But I used most of what I captured, except for the dregs at the bottom of the bucket where I caught it, and add a little extra. We'll do a normal bleed. I'm not going to go into how to do that. So there's a lot of opinions on that. So ever since installing that coolant filter, this is about where the needle sits. There you go. As soon as it starts touching the light, front fan comes on. So I think we're good. A lot of people seem to like the Ultra Gauge, but it's fairly pricey. You can achieve basically the same result with an Android phone. I think an iPhone as well. The Torque Pro app, it's like $15. And you can get a Bluetooth OBD2 port adapter on Amazon. I use the Panlong, and I think it was about 15 bucks. Furthermore, with the Torque Pro app, you can read diagnosis codes which are thrown when the check engine light comes on, and you can clear them also. So all I had to do was bleed the I think I poured a little coolant into here, bled the radiator at the front, put a little juice in the overflow bottle. That's it. It's amazing when a repair is actually as easy as it should be. But man, working on the freaking Bostig, all this room, it is a joy compared to working on that old 1.9. It's night and day, man. The access, unbelievable. Oh yeah, oh that is hot.